Record this computer. Oh, we're recording. Grand. All right, cool. So if I share my screen and there. Grand. So can everybody see App Connect now?
Yeah.
It should be open on Untitled. That's grand. All right, cool. So welcome everybody to another intro series. Today we're going to be covering Matlab. Matlab is it's not used a whole lot by engineers. Like I said, we've only used it once, maybe twice if you count Simulink, but it's used a lot by I have a mate doing astrophysics and I have a friend doing applied physics that use it a lot in physics. It's used a lot if you end up doing like data analytics. You do a language called R Studio in third year that covers similar stuff to MATLAB. Like you'll use them in tandem a lot. If you have like matrices of data, like you'll be use MATLAB with R, and they kind of cross over a little bit sometimes. It is very handy for like finding the like determinant of a matrix. In second year, Jerry will be doing more matrices with you. And is it if it was I think it was the determinant of a 3x3 matrix. He says just never try and find it. It's not worth your time. Like apparently it takes forever.
Maybe even 4x4.
I think like the determinant of
like
4x4.
3x3 is not fun, but you can do it. 4x4 we just don't do.
Yeah, I think it's like almost impossible. Like it'll take hours to do. So this will do it in a few seconds. So I might cover that. Just before we start, has Marissa gone through like the actual structure of like why things are the way that they are, as opposed to just like this is how you do an array? Or has she kind of skipped right onto the labs and gone into more of the theory part of it? Because I can cover some of the basic stuff now. I have a bit of code here that covers some of the basics if you want to go through that.
I think we had Connor for that, not Marissa.
Oh, is it Connor? Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Is Connor doing all the lectures and Marissa doing the labs?
We didn't encounter like Marissa, I think.
Marissa just helps whenever we have questions during the labs.
Yeah.
Oh. Was that always the case, Eva?
You haven't met Marissa?
Marissa
I know.
is...
We
heard her.
Marissa is a genius.
Oh my god.
We heard her in one class. Though.
The smartest person I've ever met.
She's I actually love Marissa so much. She's just the best.
Every module you have with Marissa is going to be a wild ride. Like they're all really, really hard. But like, she's just every lecture. You come with a lecture, goes, I understood all of that, and I shouldn't have. Like, no mortal man can.
There will come a day when you understand it, and it will be beautiful.
Yeah, great. If you do ECE, you have her for a module called Signals in first semester of third year. It's 10 credits, all in one module. So if you fail that, you can't pass by compensation anymore. So because you can only pass up to 10 credits. I had a failure rate of like half 1 year. It's really hard, but apparently it's really interesting. So this is some of the test script I had. Let me just check the chat real quick. Chat. Every time I share my screen, my chat like disappears. Could you zoom? When I okay, let me. Can I zoom in? Can I zoom in on Zoom? Good question.
Because if you're gonna upload on
You're
YouTube,
absolutely correct.
You
Yeah.
can just zoom in maybe on like the tab, like with Chrome. It might. Right.
Uh-oh. Is it working? What is working? All right, go show Aoife. There we go, ground. So, is that easier to see?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, cool. So, I will... My gallery view is gone missing. I don't know where it's gone, but... So yeah, this is the code I was running through today to just like kind of get my hands back on with MATLAB again. I'm just going to run through some of the basics of MATLAB and why some things look the way that they do. So if I'll put a link in the Discord later to a series of notes on the MathWorks website. It's just like I think it's called Getting Started with MATLAB on their help center. It was actually really, really good. It kind of goes through like some of the absolute basics and explains like why things look the way that they look. Because if you're familiar with any other coding language, whether that be C or something outside of college, MATLAB looks nothing like any other coding language. Like it's completely like the joke is that Matlab isn't a coding language, but not because it doesn't look like a coding language. It's because its arrays start at element 1, while like every other coding language, its arrays start at element 0. I've gotten into heated discussions with mates in computer science who don't think Matlab is a coding language. Start counting at 1. Yeah, like they just, as opposed to going like, I is equal to 0 or something for like a for loop, you have to say like I is equal to 1 for an array, because it'll go read the 0th element and it doesn't exist. It makes sense from a maths perspective because this is a coding language that's for mathematicians. So like everything's done with maths in mind rather than with computer science in mind. But anyway, I will go through some of the stuff here. So if you're ever writing a script in MATLAB, start with clear. Just start everything with clear. Actually, I'll just really quickly go through. So this is when you open up MATLAB, it'll just be the command window. This will be the entire screen. You just go up here, you hit new and then script, and it'll bring up the scripting window, and then you just save and give it a name. If you are looking to load any like data files, I have a data file in here called numbers.txt. The text file and the script file have to be in the same folder. Otherwise, it won't be able to read it. It just reads from whatever file path the .m file is reading from. So yeah, just start everything with clear. It just makes it a bit easier, so that way you're not having like variables cross over one another. You can also type clear into the command window, just from here. And we'll see, if you see here on the right, this is your workspace. This is where all your variables are held. So if I run this again, it reloads all the variables. So if it's a numerical value, it'll give you the value. But if what you're trying to store is a matrix, it'll tell you what kind of matrix it is. So I'll just go through this real quick. So the first thing we have is data. So it just loads the text file. The text file is just a series. Actually, I don't know if I can open it from here. I don't think I can open it from here, but it's a series of numbers. It's just like a series of random numbers. And actually, can I open it? Yeah, here it is. It's just a bunch of random numbers in order, in random order. So this reads it in, and you can see it over here. It loads it in as a matrix. And if I actually come down here and type in data, it'll display data. So this is what data actually is. Ignore all the ones and zeros. That's something else. So it's all of these numbers here. If I go all the way back down, scrolling through this command window can be a bit fidgety, because when you're loading in a bunch of numbers, it tends to like skip through a bunch of numbers really quickly because it's a very like fine scroll. Next, it loads a matrix called M. Oh, nope, that's not meant to do that. Here we go. So M loads it as, if you see here, just a matrix that we can work with without affecting the actual loaded data. So this colon, if I go here, a language fundamental. So again, I'll share a link to this in the Discord later of what all of this means. But where I'm getting all of this from the website itself. This colon just means for all rows. So I have a colon here would mean for all columns. So this is reading every row, but only one column, only the first column of this matrix here called data. Now, data is a 1000 by 1 matrix, as you can see here. It's just a series of numbers. So, we had somebody going. Hello. I can't get my gallery view back. I don't know how to get it back, but I'll try to sort that out later. So, yeah, this means that it's just loading in every row, but there's only and then only the first column. Now there is only one column, but this just loads it in so it doesn't affect the data we've loaded in. Now, A and B are just some basic value, like basic functions. So it's just returning the minimum and maximum value of the matrix M, as you can see here. The command window is great because it lets you like interact with the elements that you have in here without having to directly code them. So like I can go A by, oh no, not capital A, and B, and I'll multiply them together, and it'll actually save it up here. See answer. So it's dead handy if you want to, if you have like two matrices and part of your code is you want to like the code actually isolates the values, but then if you want to like multiply them together, like if you have three matrices and you want like the second row, second column element of each matrix, and you want to like multiply them together and do math with them, you can code it into the script and I'll do it for you, and you can call on them, or you can do it on the fly down here in the command window. It's handy for when you're trying to kind of mess around with numbers to see if a solution will work. Like I was saying, the labs, you only have 2 attempts, so you'll be doing a lot of checking and attempts without actually submitting to make sure that it looks right, or at least is right. I recommend what we do in the labs is work together. Are you using a Zoom call for the labs, or is it just prescribed time that you spend doing the lab?
We're in a Zoom call.
Are you putting the breakout rooms?
No. If we want help, we have to go into a Google Docs and then just write questions there. It's just for Connor or Marissa to say something about a certain question.
So there's no way for like students to talk together while doing the lab?
Discord.
No.
I was going to say Discord. Is attendance
Discord.
is attendance to the Zoom call mandatory? Do
We
you
don't
have to be
know.
there? Because if you don't,
think so, like,
if you don't have to be there, I recommend being there for the start of it, and then if you need help hopping into a Discord call with each other and just going through the code. Like I teach code to 4th year kids from school, and when I'm doing code with them, I put them in the breakout rooms, and it's like work as a team, and they understand and do the code way faster and way better, because like one person might try and do something and I'm like, no, you do it this way, and you'll do it. It saves yourself on attempts. And obviously just like talk with each other about the code. Don't necessarily just steal the code from each other. It's going to get in trouble. But I would recommend at least bouncing ideas off each other, because you only have so many attempts. At least that's what we did in the labs anyway. Let's see. So yeah, min and max are just some of the regular operators, mathematical operators that are loaded into Matlab. The get started guide I'll share later has a list of these, all of the commands and what they do on their website for free. So if you're using App Connect, you can load a new tab in this Chrome up here with the get started guide, and it's going to swap between them, or load it on your phone and have as like a book that you can like read through while you're doing it on your laptop. Next up, so if I type in so this one confused me for a little bit. I was looking at this for ages and I couldn't find out what it was until I looked over here. So this is where this is important. So 1,000 by 1 double and 1,000 by 1 logical. What I gained from this is that 1,001 double is a 1,000 by 1 matrix of doubles. So if you remember from the C intro series we did, or from your C lectures, a double is just a data type. It's just a number with a bunch of decimal, with memory allocated for a bunch of decimal points afterwards. A logical one only has 2 possible values, 0 or 1, bitwise logic. Like you'll see that in 2nd year, and also it's just binary. So what I believe this is O is equal to M under 1,000 is that it just goes through each element. Oh no, not that one, not like that. Stop that. It goes through each element of this matrix M that we see up here, and it just marks it with a 0 or a 1 if it's above 1,000 or not. So sorry, if it's under 1,000. So if it's under 1,000, it gets a 1. If it's over 1,000, it gets a 0. And this is really handy. You'll see we'll do another thing later on in this bit of script to explain why that's helpful. But like you can do like a range of values. So you can say if you want it to be greater than 500 but less than 1,000, you can put M in the middle of that statement, and it'll tell you which ones fall into that bracket, that like range of numbers. This N 1,000, that's just a constant. I don't know. This again, what I said during the C intro series, never go back and look at your old code. I don't know why I declared that there, of all places. That's used later on in the code. So X is equal to sum O colon is equal to 1. So what this is doing is that this is, my X. Why did I think I might put this in wrong. I'm not sure exactly what this is doing, because this is, if you can see here, is showing just all the numbers in like groups together. I'm not 100% sure what I don't believe this to be doing anything at the minute, but this one is. So is even. So let me go is. Grand. Yeah. So is even, as we can see over here, is another logical matrix. So this is this ones or zeros. And this is using the mathematical function remainder. So this should probably be in brackets, so it looks nicer. But what this is doing is that it's checking the remainder, or in C, you know, like the percentage sign in C for modulus. I don't know if we've done that yet, but All this command is doing is to check to see if the remainder of any element of m and the number 2 is equal to 0 or not, which is just checking if it's even. So remainder m comma 2 is equal to 0. So now it's telling us, as opposed to which ones are under or over 1,000, it's telling us which ones are odd and which ones are even. Again, well, the last bit of code here, this for loop later on, uses something similar to that. So y is equal to sum even. So what this is doing here, so y is equal to sum. So sum is just the summation. It's adding up all the terms and returning an integer value. Is even, this colon again is just representing all. So all elements. The colon in Matlab is just used to define like the entire section of that array. Sum is even equal to 1. Anyone want to hazard a guess as to what y is doing in this code? Like what this bit of code here does? I'll select that again. That in there. What y is doing here is that it's just returning, it's just getting a value of how many even numbers there is. So it's just going through the matrix is, so the matrix is even, is making an array of the same length as m, but if a number is greater, if a number is even, it's 1, and if it's odd, it's 0. What this y is doing is that y is equal to sum is even is equal to 1, is that it's just going through the entirety of is even and just adding up the amount of ones there is. Therefore, adding up the amount of even numbers there are in the array. And if we type in y, you can see here, 483. It does the same thing here now with is odd. It's doing the exact same thing, but as opposed to being equal to 0, it's is that not equal to 0? I think that's the not. Again, it'll be the operators here. Let me see if I can actually grab this here. Does anybody have any questions while I'm looking for this operator? Look. Okay. So, give me 1 second. Let's have a look here. Yes, perfect. So this this squiggly thing here, if anyone did Spanish, it's the thing that goes above an N. That is the logical not. So in C, if you want to see if something is not equal to something, it's exclamation mark equals. In this, it's that squiggly line that equals. So is odd is equal to any element of the matrix M divided by 2. If the remainder is not 0, well, then the number is odd. So that's what that's doing there. It's just the inverse, like English wise, not like the inverse of the matrix. So like any element that isn't even has to be odd. So if we type in is odd here, if you scroll back up, well, it's hard to keep track of on such a small screen, but if you were to like export these as text files, you can put them side by side and see everyone that's 1 on one is 0 on the other and vice versa. Similarly, if I type in S, it's the amount of elements in this is odd array, like how many of them are actually odd. If you add S and Y together, I don't know why I did S and Y, not X and Y, but however, 1,000, because there's 1,000 terms in this M thing, in this M matrix here. If you go over here and see M, it's 1,000 by 1. So that way, we know that it's working, because this is the kind of stuff you want to be doing in these labs, is just cross-checking these small values. Oh yeah, so I have this many odd numbers and this many even numbers. You want to make sure that it's catching every number. So you add the two of them together to make sure it equals the amount of numbers that are actually in the file, so that way you're not missing any somehow. I don't know how, if you maybe put in a term for equal to 0 as opposed to being odd or even. You wouldn't do that, but it's good to check all these individual things, because again, you want to get 2 attempts and you don't want to waste any of them. Let's see here. Sum 3. Yeah, so sum 3 again. I probably should. This is around here is where I should have declared n around the same points, just to make it easier to read. This is how you implement a for loop in Matlab. So in C, have you covered for loops with Gabby yet?
Yeah, we've already done for loops.
Yeah.
With
So for loop, for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. In this, It's just going through CT. Let's see here. I think this is, let's see here, one. Yes, this is a similar thing, but it's for 1,000. So this here is squishing all that down into one line where I can change the value of n. So if I only want to do it for 100 numbers, it'll only do it for 100 numbers. If you only want to do it for 10, it'll only do it for 10. XCT, so that's the value that we're on, CT for count, is equal to MCT1. So if you remember up here, we had data colon 1. That's because it's taking every row and the first column. Here, we're taking the CT element of each row. So like we're taking one colon n. So the first time I'll go, it'll be 1, because again, arrays start at 1 in Matlab. So it'll be M11, and I'll take that value. And it says if, give me 1 second. So let's have a look here. Yes, so XCT is equal to MCT1. So that's just taking each, and that's the same thing as if you were to do like an array in C and have like the element n. This is doing the same thing. If the remainder of that value, so whatever value we're using, and 2 is not equal to 0, let's see here. Sum 3 is equal to, right, yeah. So the difference here, does anyone want to tell me, so what this is doing is that this is getting every value of, every odd value. Does anyone want to tell me what the difference between this line and this line is? Oh, sorry. So does anyone want to tell me what the difference between this line here and this line here is? So they're both checking for a remainder of m and 2 to see if it's not 0. So they're all both checking for odd numbers. But does anyone want to tell me what the difference between this and this is?
Is that not just finding how many odd numbers there is? Like just adding them together?
Yeah, so this one is checking how many odd numbers there is. This is adding all of those odd numbers together. So we could do the same thing here. We could copy this and replace this sign here with an equal sign, and we'll do it for odd numbers. So if I type in sum, what do I do? Oh, there we go, sum 3. Yeah, so that's the sum of every odd number. So the reason why typing directly into this command window is great, because you could go like sum 3 divided by, what do I have, s? And that's the average of all your odd numbers. Or you could do the same thing for even numbers. You could pull these numbers out. You could pull like I was saying, you could use it with the R, which is a statistics language, like a data analytics language. You can pull out like your mean value, like your standard deviation of values, all this stuff from the command window. If you don't want to like export it as a full file and then read it, you can just take out the individual values and kind of get an idea of what all the values mean rather than what they exactly equal. So, and then like Matlab is really weird, and as opposed to using like curly brackets to show where like a function starts and ends and everything, you just type end. So it's just this. And if anyone here, has anyone here done Python before? If you do Python, you do it as a part of third year. You don't like determine a function by like for whatever curly bracket than the rest of your text. But if you do it in Python, it's just indents. So every time you hit tab, it'll go, okay, everything with a tab beside it is a part of this function. Matlab works similarly, where it's just anything between these end statements. So like for this if statement here, it underlines it. Thankfully, I didn't know it did that. Anything between these underlined terms is what's going to happen with this if statement. And then the same thing for this for loop. Anything between here and here is going to happen every time it increases this element of for a CT, it'll go all the way up to n, which is 1,000. So if I wanted to make this 100 and then run it, and then type in sum 3, It's way smaller because it's only doing the first 100 numbers, as opposed to the full 1,000 numbers. Now the numbers aren't ordered; they are random. You could try and order them. I'm not sure how you do that in Matlab. Probably be relatively simple in something like C or Java, but in Matlab, again, this programming language is mainly for matrices. That's what you'll be using them for a lot and everything. I just thought I would go through some of the basic arithmetic. Does anybody have any questions? Bit of a short one this week, just due to the fact that there's not a whole lot you do in MATLAB that you can't do in another coding language. Simpler. Other than matrices, it's kind of hard to do matrices unless you do them as like arrays. Like I was trying to do a matrix in Java and it got a bit weird, but MATLAB is great for multiplying matrices and everything together. But when you're
for m equals data, if you said that just picks one column. If let's just say you had 4 columns and you only wanted the second and third column, how would you?
Second and third.
Yeah, so like that one is all the rows, first column.
Yeah.
So say I had 3 columns and I wanted to I wanted to look into the second and third column, but not the first one. Is there a way to or can you only ever just pick one specific column?
Believe you can determine size, shape. So let me have a look here. I believe that you can use the colon in between 2 values, and that'll be it'll give you a range. So I have it here. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Finding a matrix. Because you might just if you have it based off of age ranges or something. So this is the other thing. If you wanted to check the second and third columns or something, let's say if they're separated by age range or or address or something. If you want to do that in industry or when you go on to do a project or a research project or something, coding language just that kind of stuff way easier. But I believe if you use a colon between the 2 numbers, that'll give you your range. So it's similar to, as you can see down here, this 1 colon n. That's 1 to n, 1 to 1,000.
Okay, so if you just did
leave, if you did 2 comma 3, it'll 2 colon 3. I believe it would do the 2 of them. I don't have a text file like that set up, but I believe it'll do the 2 value. Try it out. Good question. I don't know if you do it all that much in the labs, but if you do, it'd be a good thing to try out before. It'd be a good thing to do before you go in, so that way you know before you try one of your attempts if it works. So let me have a look here. Does anybody have any other questions?
I think there was a question in the chat there.
Yeah. My chat never wants to cooperate on Zoom; it just disappears.
I'll read it out. Why does sum 3 give odd numbers?
Sum 3, or why does sum 3 give odd numbers? So this little curly bracket here is the logical operator for not. So there's my chat. There it is. So that's the logical operator for not. So we want to find if the remainder of the current term, so the count xct, so that's whatever value of the matrix is the current number we're on. So if it goes 1, it'll check for the first value, 2, it'll check for the second. If the remainder of that value and the number 2 is not equal to 0, it means that it's an odd number, because if it was divisible by 2, it'd be a clean remainder. So this little curly bracket is your logical not operator. And this is how, we could change this to an equal sign, run it, and then type in sum 3. And this is the sum of every even number. And we could divide that. Now we could duplicate it. So if we did this and put this down here, important sum 4 is equal to 0. Change that to sum 4. Oh, no. Change that to sum 4. And change that to sum 4. Make that one there, and try and run that. See if this works. Grand, yes. Yeah, so now we have 2. So now this one's doing even numbers because it's 2 equal signs, And this one's doing odd numbers because it's an equal sign with this little curly bracket beside it. So in C, that would be exclamation mark equal sign. In most of the coding language, it's exclamation mark equal sign. But I think I remember asking this in first year. This doesn't use the exclamation mark because in maths, that's factorial. So they don't want to like have any crossover between the two operators. So they try to like, you don't use that symbol in maths. Like two of them on top of each other means approximately equal to, but that by itself, you don't use. So they had to replace the exclamation mark with this because in maths, you'll be using factorial a fair bit. So they had to replace it. So it just means that if the remainder between the current value and 2 isn't 0, the number is odd. Therefore, it adds it onto the sum and we can count the sum up. Did that answer your question? Brilliant. Cool. Does anybody have any other questions? Does anybody, do you want me to go through one of the questions that Esam shared into the Discord? I can do one of them. I'll do one, and that should bring us up to 7:30, and then I'll cut the recording, and I'll try and have the recording uploaded tonight. Not like last time where I forgot. So if I bring up, so there's a new script I have here. So write a script, lab 1Q1. Oh, actually, I have to download that file that I uploaded. So yeah, the way that the WebWorks will work is that they've given you nine files, and they'll give you like an n value, and that's the one that you use. So this one here used value 4. So this one here, so let me download that, and I'll put that in. So show in folder. Yeah, on App Connect. It's actually really hard to get into Windows File Explorer. You have to like go in through like other means. You can't just like open Windows File Explorer. There we go. So now the value is in the documents folder. So I put this in here, close that, and close that. Yep. Grand. So write a script. Let me name it properly. So it's lab 1 question. Let's call it that for austerity's sake. So I've got the lab 1. Lab 1 question. I think it's in here. Oh, doc. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Save it in here. Perfect. Okay. So, write a script that reads that file. So, how would I read the file in? Actually, wait. What do I do before I do anything?
Here.
Yep. Scroll here. Okay. So now I want to read that data set into Matlab. How do I do that?
Would you use like a variable name and say equals load data?
Yep. So I'll call it data again. This is where your modules cross over. Why do the same thing twice? Give me that. Right, let me put that here. There we go. Never do something if you don't have to do it. Okay, so the folder is called, the file's called data underscore set underscore, where'd you come from? Data underscore set underscore, Jesus, a long file name. Lab 1A underscore N. When I'm done, I'll take this M file, I'll put it on my Google Drive and upload it to the Discord along with the link for the getting started thing. That way, but keep in mind, if you're in group B and you haven't done it yet and you're doing this, that'll be lab 1B. And it's also not N, for me it's 4. So you'll have to change a few of the files, but you should be able to use the code. There are 80,000 natural numbers. So actually, if I just run this, will this run? Perfect. So there's 80,000 numbers in that file, and you can see over here, the value is an 80,000 by 1 matrix because there's 80,000 numbers in a big volume. Now, your script should find the 45,000th number in the list and the smallest number that appears. So how do we find the smallest number? We did it in the last one as well.
Make it a variable to keep track of the smallest number you find, and just go through the list until you find the smallest number, and replace it when you find a smaller number.
So you could do 4. So you could do like n is equal to 80,000 for CET is equal to 1 colon n, and then just keep on going through it, and then compare it to your min value every time. And if it's less than min becomes that number. Or actually, I'll call this min 1 just for sake. You do that. So there's a function baked into Matlab that just pulls the minimum value from a matrix because it's something you do a lot. I'm actually just going to do this as well, like it did in the last question. Just move that in here. I think that's to protect the data to make sure that you can like use it again later on and not get all messed up. So I'll run that. Grant. So yeah, these are exact copies of each other. I think it's just to like protect the file. So if you like try to write something to it, it doesn't like write it directly into the file. Grant. So as you can see over here, we don't even actually have to. We can type in min1, but we don't. And it says 31, but it's actually really handy because it's just over here. So you can see if you have a bunch of variables, we're just giving you all in a list here. Can I like write into that? Whoa! Oh, Excel. I have no idea where I am. I'm gonna get out of here. Okay, so 45,000 numbers. So we'll call it what do we call it? Let's call it. So how do I find the 45,000 number?
And then brackets 45,000. Or colon, comma, 45,000.
So if you do colon, comma, 45,000, it'll look for any value in the 45,000 column. So you need it the other way around. So it's 45,000. Run that. Let's see here. So 40407174. Wait, what the hell? What were your answers for that, Sam?
No, my one was wrong because I accidentally. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I was like,
yeah. No, my one was wrong.
Okay, that's good. Well, I mean, not that sucks, but so yeah, if it this is I'm looking at Esam's problem 1. This is the first question of the lab. So the this, if I take this and I'll throw it in the Discord, which I will. These are kind of like good ways to like I said, never do anything twice. Now, if you ever get another question and you have, I need to find the 78th element of this 1 column matrix, you can just take this line and replace 45,000 with 78, and that way you learn at least what it looks like. So if you're looking at code, or if you're like looking at code online, or like looking at notes, you know that this here means like the 45,000 row and the first column. It's like tests. You have to play tests like A8 and stuff in chess, or Battleship for the less big brain people like me. I hate chess, but I'll do one more. Let me have a look here. I'll do one more, and that'll bring us up to half. So I hope this second one now isn't hard. Good man, Esam, for taking the screenshots as well. Goddamn.
I wish I thought ahead like that in first year.
Yep, I thought ahead like that for C. For C, I saved all my labs to my Google Drive, so it didn't. But that was only because I was sick of having to open them through NewTelp, and it was like super slow, so I downloaded them. But and I can open them on my phone or whatever. But here we go. Yeah, write a script called Lab 1 question 2. Yes. Make sure you save it in this Matlab folder if you're doing it on App Connect, otherwise it won't work. Save. Okay. Now I have to get the 9th one. So there's just like does this lab just like use each number file and like different questions?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool. So I'm gonna grab the 9th file. Ignore that. That's my contract for work. Go away. Might be important. You sound on. All right. Show in folder. Put. Peace. There we go. So that's in there now. What do we do now? Right. So how do I write this? Let me read out the question first. Sorry. Write a script lab 1a question 2.m that reads in the text file dataset lab 1a n, where n is 9. So I'm reading in the ninth file. There are 80,000 natural numbers. Your script should identify which two neighboring numbers in the list, xn and xn plus 1, add together to give the largest sum. Jesus. What is n? I think I was ambitious when I said I get this undone in 5 minutes. You have 2 hours to do these? How many
Yeah, 2
questions is there?
hours.
7? God damn. All right. Well, let me take a shot at it so it's clear, and then the load one. So I'll load in the matrix, and I'll try and see what I can do. Okay, so that loads it, and then I don't know why I copied them separately. I should have just copied them together. See, this is the time you can't afford to be wasting. 2 hour lab. I run that. Okay, so we have them here now. Which of the two neighboring numbers on the list gave the largest sum? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to steal this. So give me that. So n is equal to 80k. Paste. Okay, so for CT is equal to n, CT is equal to m, CT1. And I'm gonna need a largest. I'll call largest equal to 0. Don't, that's way too long of a variable name, but still. And we'll call it num is equal to 0. Okay, so if anybody got? Oh wait, no, I think I got it. Okay, cool. So if okay, hold on. I'll post that there. So we have x1. Oh wait, I don't know. You can do that. See that? There we go. No, it didn't work. Work on. Shift enter. Oh, cool. Easy. So yeah, if you hit shift enter when you change something, it changes like all of it to that, which is cool. So DT, I don't know if Matlab will let me do this, but we can try. So I have x1 DT is equal to that element of m, and then x2 is equal to the next element of m. If x1 CT no plus x2 CT is greater than, I'm just going to call this sum 1 because typing in the word largest every time is going to kill me. Sum 1. Sum 1 is equal to x2 CT plus x that CT, and num is equal to CT. I sincerely doubt this will work, but we can try. Yeah, I cannot wait for this to crash on me as soon as I try and run it. Oh, yep, there it is.
Hey Jacob, I just have to go, so keep an eye on the chat.
Yep, we'll do. All right, there. Index in position 1 exceeds array bounds, must not exceed 80k.
Do n minus 1 in the for loop. See what you have. CT is 1 to n. It has to be 1 less than n because you're adding 1 then onto CT. I think.
Well, then it'll be n and then n minus 1 instead of n and then n plus 1. I think what its trouble is that it actually it mentions it in the question that there's a sum is not defined for n is equal to 80k because there's no 80,000th and first term. So I think I need to say if CT is equal to 80k, break? I don't know if break is even in Matlab, but we will find out together. Oh, there's not even any brackets in these things. God, I think too much of this coding language. God, it looks like third. All right, there we go. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Okay, there's no way this is gonna work. Okay, maybe if I use 2. Oh. I don't think that worked. Why is this a 80,000 long matrix? This should not be the case. Or hold on.
2 hours. Remember, 2 hours.
2 hours, everybody. CT is equal to 1 by 100 double. It does save them as matrices. Maybe if I go to CT, I'm gonna say that. Oh, give me my 2 back. No, give me that back. All right, cool. X2. I'm gonna flip these around because it's killing me. The fact that these were backwards. Yeah, I don't know if that worked or not because that number looks massive, but that might just be right. Can I open the file? .res file. I don't even know what you used to open them. In the meantime, let's have a look at it. So num is equal to that. So it's saying that the 60,000 and 6. I can actually see if it's right by going M 60,122 1 and see if it's okay. So apparently that's the 600. What N is it? Oh, wait, hold on. So that is this term, but it's saying that that term plus the next one creates the highest value. So if I go M 60,123 1, it's that. So if I go M plus 60,123 1, and I'll finish this back to be 122. I think that worked. Because if you see here, if I type in, like, it's saying that for this value of n, for the 60,122nd term, that term and the next one, when you add them together, that's the greatest sum of consequential terms that you get. I think that works. And then at the end, and then x1 and x2 at the end of the for loop, this is the second last term, and then this is the last term. And do you remember what I was saying about how you can like check your values to make sure if you're right before you make an attempt? I'm actually going to open this file and see if that is the last term to see if it's opening everything. So if I go, this is mad scientist time, everybody. This is why you do engineering. Save file. Open. Rename. Also, tip, if you're on your laptop, I'm not sure how you do it, but there's like an option you can change that allows you to change. Could you see my Windows File Explorer, or could you just see MATLAB?
We can only see MATLAB in the
okay,
notepad
cool.
that you just popped up.
Right. Could you see my Windows File Explorer before that? Was there anything embarrassing in the downloads? It was like modding Skyrim a few days ago. I don't know if that was in there. Anyway, if we go, so you can see the notepad. Oh,
Yeah, we can see the notepad.
it's struggling. All right, get this out of here. Close that. Okay, so it's saying that x2 should be, so moment of truth, this should be the last term. It is not the last term, so something went terribly, terribly wrong. Huh. Where's it even getting this number from? I like view, edit. No. Find next. Let me hold on. Let me see if I go 1926636. Apparently this value doesn't exist. That's not good. Anybody got any ideas? 479.
Open it in Notepad++ if you have it. That way you can actually find the 45th line. Oh, 45. Oh, sorry, whatever it is. Not the 45th line, sorry, whatever index it says.
So I think I know what my problem is. I was looking at the 9th file. I'm supposed to be looking at the 4th file. So if I go here, the question asked me to look at the 9th one. Because I copied this over from here, I never changed the file name.
To be honest, I thought you were just doing that just to be different, so I
Nope.
didn't question it.
Completely forgot. Check your code, everybody. If you're gonna steal code from yourself in the past, make sure you change it. God damn. All right, let me run that. Okay.
That's why I got question 1 wrong. I literally used the wrong data file.
Is that what you did? Yeah, like. Oh, all right, let me see if this is right. Okay, so if I go all the way down. Hey, it worked. All right, cool. So if you see here, this 343, that's the last term. That's the second last term. I think that works. I'm willing to say, you know what? I'm not willing to say that works because I don't want you to use it and then get it wrong. But I think it works. So, yeah, that was fun. I didn't think that would work. God damn. Is that what you did for this one, Isam?
I did something similar, but for us, we're supposed to show both numbers that you add to give you the biggest sum, or was it the product?
It was here. Product was for the prime numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because you actually need to save. Okay. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. X1, I'll call it X1 with a word, and then X2. So all you need to do. So Isam was saying that in order to get the question right, it actually asks you which 2 terms add up to give that. So you just type in here then X1. I know type in X1 with the word is infinitely cursed, but it makes sense. And then X2 is equal to X2. If I run that, it's going to yell at me. See? So these are the ones that we can add together to. So now it's going to ask for xn. That's that one. Xn plus 1 is that. And then n is that, which is what? That's what you got.
Yeah, I got that.
You got that one right?
Yeah.
Yeah! Somebody hasn't coded Matlab in 2 years. That wasn't half bad. Good. So I'll upload both of those Q files. I'll upload this and this. And you know what? I'll upload this as well. I'll upload all these to Discord in a big zip file on like Makerspace, Matlab 2. And I'll upload the video tonight. And yeah, that was definitely one of the more interesting ones that we did. But yeah, did anybody have any questions before we log off?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask one thing about the because in our lab or in our sample code that he gave us, he didn't use any of the stuff like where you had data equals with the brackets and the semicolon. He just said X equals load data and then X1, X2, X3, X4.
Yeah, I think
does that make a difference?
It shouldn't. I think I did it just. I'm either doing it for one of 2 reasons: either to protect the original file or just because I was dumb. I mean, it does make it. Yeah, it does make it a bit. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Yeah. So it should make a difference. It should not make a difference. But doing it means that you can like give them 2 different names, so you know what the difference is. You can like write stuff back in. I'm like you're saying, Connor did it. It's right. Man's a genius. So like, if what I did is different to what Connor did, do what Connor did. Because it's probably easier that way. Does anybody have any other questions?
Thank you.
No problem. Grand. So I'll wrap it up there. Went a bit over time. That's grand. I will export all these onto my Google Drive, and I'll put them on the Discord in a big zip file. I'll upload the video. Actually, I'll stop recording now. Hold on. Recording.